Hello everybody, this is Ralph Martin from RJ Quality Consulting, and in this video I wanted to do a walkthrough of my new course called ISO IEC 17025 Implementation Masterclass. So if this is a do-it-yourself method, if you're a laboratory that is looking to become accredited to ISO 17025, this class gives you literally everything you need in order to implement ISO 17025, all the way from training to the required documentation to the implementation of the standard itself. And what I'd like to do is kind of go over the modules. There are 8 modules to this course, and I'd like to walk through the course just to show you what you get in each of the modules. So first of all, in Module 1, you will get it's really broken into 3 lessons. There's a welcome and course objectives. Then Lesson 2 is what is ISO 17025, which is a walkthrough of the history of the standard and how the standard is broken down into clause elements, specifically clauses 4 through 8, which we'll get into through the video. Lesson 3 is how the course works. So what I'll do is click on Lesson 1 just to show you what you get. There is an introductory video that introduces myself and how the class works. And as many of you know, I am the creator of RJ Quality Consulting, and I'm also a certified ISO 17025 assessor for one of the largest accreditation bodies in the world. I have over 30 years of experience in quality management, and I've been certified as an ISO assessor since 2016. I've managed many different laboratories, calibration laboratories, testing laboratories, and I've worked for a plethora of different quality management organizations. In addition, I am also an accreditation assessor for ISO 9001 and ISO 17020 as well. So that's kind of my history. I've been audited by the FDA, and I have audited the FDA, so I have a strong FDA background. So Lesson 1 talks about that. The goals of the course is to provide you with a thorough training, emphasizing all the clause elements of the ISO standard, the ISO 17025 standard. Each video module walks through every clause element and subclause element to give you a good, deep understanding of each of the clause elements. There will be a module per clause. Clauses 4 through 8. So there'll be a specific video for clause 4, and then clause 5, and clause 6, 7, and 8, and then we do an implementation of those. So that's really Lesson 1. Lesson 2 is what is ISO 17025. We give you a video and a brief introduction, the history, when it was first started in 1999, starting as the ISO Guide 25, and then the 2005 version, and now the current version, which is the 2017 version of the standard. And then it talks about how the standard is broken up into Clause 4 through 8, general requirements, structural requirements, resource requirements, process requirements, and then management system requirements. So that is really a Lesson 2 of Module 1. And then Lesson 3 is how the course works. So this is a really kind of important part, because I explained to you that each module or each clause element of the standard is broken into a video lesson which walks through all of the subclauses of that particular clause of the standard. Then I show you each of the required documentation that would be required to implement that section, which includes the policy or procedure or form that you would need to implement that particular clause element. And I literally give it to you that you can customize to your own laboratory. Then there's an instructional PDF guide that explains how to use the documentation step by step. And that way you can implement clause at a time. My recommendation is that you go through each clause, you implement the clauses one at a time. By the time you're done with clause 8, you'll have already implemented clauses 4 through 7. So that's really how that works. And each of the clause modules will be set up in that fashion. So what I'd like to do is just give you an example. For example, clause 4, there is a video lesson which walks through all of the subclauses of clause 4. Hence, clause 4.1, 4.12, 4.13, and I explain literally every subclause of clause 4. Then, there'll be a video. Then we go through implementation instructions for clause 4. We give you the whole quality manual, which is introduced in clause 4. It's a 56-page document that is customizable for your laboratory, so it'll work for any laboratory. It covers all of the clause elements of the standard and is structured in the same clause element format as the standard itself. We give you an impartiality agreement, a management review meeting minute template to talk about risk to impartiality, which is talked about in clause 4.1, a confidentiality policy for all your employees to sign, confidentiality policy for your contractors to sign, and then this PowerPoint presentation that is behind the video that I'm talking about, showing each of the clause elements. That way you have notes for all of the videos for each of the clause elements. And so we go on, and we do this for each clause. So, for example, and I won't go through each one of these, you could do it when you purchase the course, but there's a clause 5, and in the clause 5, I give you all the documentation requirements that you would need to implement clause 5, which would be an organizational chart, a list of roles and responsibilities that you can customize for your lab, and so forth. Then we get into module 4, which is clause 6, resource requirements. And again, I give you all of the required procedures. In fact, this is a pretty large section of the standard, so I'd like to show you what you get. You get a training procedure, an environmental conditions procedure, a maintenance and calibration of equipment procedure, and a purchasing procedure, PowerPoint, and instructions on how to implement each of the procedures. Keeping in mind that each procedure has the corresponding forms that you would need to fill out to actually give objective evidence. So you'll have everything you need to implement clause 6. And then the largest section is clause 5, clause 7, which is module 5. Clause 7 is the largest of all the clause elements of the standard. It has the most numerous procedures, policies, forms, and this goes all the way from method verification, validation, sampling, handling of test items, technical records, measurement of uncertainty. I give you all the forms, procedures, and documents that you need to implement clause 7, which is a very important clause. We do the same thing for clause 8, which is the management system requirements, which is I give you an internal audit checklist, the management review meeting minutes, all of the things that would pertain to clause 8 of the system. Now, module 7 is a pretty important module as well because it's implementation. Now that we've learned the standard, now that we have all the forms and procedures necessary, we've implemented each clause at a time, then we have an implementation module which I literally show you how to conduct an internal audit, use my internal audit checklist, all the forms necessary to provide internal audit records for your external auditor. Management review, you get a management review meeting minute template that covers all of the required inputs and outputs of management review. And then we have next steps, which is continuous improvement. And then you get a 20-question quiz. When you pass the quiz, which is a multiple choice quiz, you get a certificate of completion, which includes an internal audit certificate of completion by a certified auditor. So now anyone who goes through this course is considered a certified internal auditor, and you could use that for your training records. So this is a quick overview of the implementation course. Again, you get every single document that you need to implement ISO 17025 and all of the training so that you understand the standard. This whole course is only a total of $400, and you can use this to do it yourself implementation method of ISO IEC 17025 2017 version of the standard. You're going to see a link towards the bottom of this video or somewhere on this page where you can purchase my masterclass. You will also have email access to myself if you have any questions regarding the implementation, and that is, I literally answer every question throughout really the lifetime of the course. So, I'm available to you as a email consultant, if you will, if you purchase this course. That is a huge benefit. This is the do-it-yourself method, so it is not, it cuts cost on having to hire a consultant, and you can do it yourself, and you have every document you need by a certified auditor who actually audits laboratories, so I do know a thing or two about the standard. So if you're interested, go ahead, click on the link, purchase the course, and you have instant access to my email, and you can, I'll walk you through the course and everything. So this is Ralph Martin signing out. You make it a great day.